And, I thought moving schools was going to be the answer. Try, maybe the bullies aren't at this school or maybe
Right.
they're not at this school, but no matter where we went, still the root of the problem was there. And it was his confidence and his self-esteem and himself and how he felt about himself that was really the root of it. Him not having the confidence to stand up for
Hey,
himself. And
welcome back to the Nourished Connections podcast. I am your host, Heather Mitchell. I'm here with a very awesome and special guest, Robin Roth. I have to read you a little bit about Robin because I chose to have her on because she is an author of this awesome book. It's called The Superpower of Self-Confidence for Teens. And as you guys know, I coach teens, I coach families. And when I read this book, I knew I had to have Robin come on and tell us a little bit more about this very important topic on helping our teens have more confidence and better self-esteem too. So Robin here is a dedicated registered nurse with over 3 decades of experience. She works closely with teenagers and parents, and throughout her illustrious career, she has become a trusted figure in the healthcare community, renowned for her unwavering commitment to the well-being of her patients. So, beyond her exemplary work in nursing, Robin is also an accomplished author and an advocate for empowering teenagers. Drawing from her extensive experience as a parent and healthcare professional, she has developed a deep understanding of the challenges adolescents face, particularly in navigating issues of fear, insecurity, and low self esteem. Driven by her own personal experiences in supporting her children through similar struggles, Robin has made it her life's mission to offer guidance and support to teens in overcoming these obstacles. Her passion for making a positive difference in the lives of young people is evident in both her professional endeavors and advocacy efforts. So that is amazing. It sounds like you've done so many amazing things in your life with teens and with families and parents to help their teens out. Maybe give us a little more about what that experience has been like for you as a nurse and helping these teens and their families.
in helping with as a nurse role or as a parent role.
Well, you had both
Yeah.
roles, right?
Right.
So as a
Yeah.
nurse, it sounds like you were helping teens and their parents going through some adolescent struggles there. Can you tell us what that might have been like?
So I work in maternity actually. So in working in maternity, I am dealing with not only adult women, but also teenagers who are pregnant and having babies.
Mm, wow.
And so I deal with the teenagers and then also their parents who are there supporting them. So I've had lots of experience with both ends of the spectrum in that regard, but I've helped them support them through a hard time. It's very difficult time for them to be um, in a situation like that. They're scared. They're not sure what to expect.
Yeah.
It's challenging.
And you've probably seen a lot of these young girls who are pregnant or teenagers just struggling with their own confidence and self-worth and value.
Right.
So were you able to guide them in that respect within your career?
So, I mean, as a nurse, I am there to not be judgmental, to not um, be, judging them for the situation that they are in and to be supportive no matter what.
Hmm.
And so walking them through the whole process of labor and delivery and afterwards, and then learning about themselves and learning about how to care for another being that they are now responsible for, and then helping the parents to know how to best support them through the whole process.
Yes.
So in
Good.
that regard, I have had the honor of being a part of that in my career.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, so now let's talk about you as a mother. How many children do you have, and how was that raising those children into teenagers? And then are they adults now? What's going on?
Yeah. So my kids are both adults now.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was challenging with them growing up. My both my daughter and my son dealt with their own things in regards to self-esteem and confidence and bullies. But my son especially, he really struggled throughout his years since elementary all the way through high school. And it was really difficult. He had to switch schools 3 times and, just kept running away from the problem, and it just never seemed to get better. Um, it was hard finding support, from the schools
Mhm.
system, and, I struggled with knowing how best to help him, and I thought moving schools was going to be the answer. Maybe the bullies aren't at this school or maybe
Right.
they're not at this school. But no matter where we went, still the root of the problem was there. And it was his confidence and his self-esteem and himself and how he felt about himself was that was really the root of it, him not having the confidence to stand up for himself and carry himself in such a way that people wouldn't be, other kids wouldn't be bullying him.
Yeah.
Seemed to be a target, you
Wow.
know.
So I'm sensing that because this was such a personal thing for you, this being your son, he must have been the biggest inspiration for this book then.
He definitely was. Yeah.
And was this like everything you wanted him to know growing up, basically? Did you try to teach this stuff to him in his teenage years? What was that like?
So I mean, I tried, but like I said, I was lost for what to do with. I really didn't know. I mean, I struggled myself with self-esteem and confidence, my own self personally.
Mhm.
And so not I didn't really know what to do at the time and helping how to best to help him and support him. So it is a hindsight thing, and through doing reading and doing research and learning more about how best to help someone who is struggling with their self-esteem and self-confidence. So this is me looking back and going, I wish that I had this book,
Mhm.
that many years ago,
Yeah.
and that I could have helped him.
It's
And
written so, so well, and, I I just feel like everyone needs a copy of this book because it's everything I want my own kids to know. Like, it really is, so I feel like this is gonna bless the generations that come after him, your little posterity,
yeah.
because this feels like your heart in one book, like everything you would want your child as a teenager, as a tween, to kinda understand as they're going through, this adolescent period, right?
Yes, definitely, definitely,
So
because
critical.
teens are, they go through a lot
Mhm.
and they are getting so many different pressures from so many different directions. And a lot of teens are really hurting inside and they are really
Yes.
hurting. Their
Mhm.
self-esteem is suffering. And, you hear so many news stories of teenagers taking their own lives and it just is heartbreaking, and if
Yes.
I could just help just and save just one teenager,
Mhm.
that would make my heart feel satisfied.
I think it should
I
be in schools, you guys. I think this should be critical reading in, like, an English class for kids or something because they need to know what you have in here, and I gotta know where you got the title from. What made you call it the superpower of self-confidence for teens?
I really I don't know, it just came to me one day before I even wrote the book. That was kind of it just popped in my head because it made me feel like, kids that are struggling with self-esteem and self-confidence, they need a hero. They need a
Mhm.
superhero
Yeah.
and someone to step in and save the day and, protect them. So that I think that's kind of where that thought originally came from, was just thinking like, if they just had superpowers that they could,
Yeah, and that self-confidence can
you
be the
know.
superpower, can do
Right,
that.
exactly.
And then your subtitle is "Discover the Secret Weapon to Conquer Fear, Overcome Insecurity, and Defeat Low Self-Esteem." So good.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Oh my gosh, this is so good. So I want to start by maybe you telling us, because I read a part in here. I didn't know that self-esteem and confidence were different things. Can you
Yeah.
maybe like explain to my audience what's different about self-esteem versus confidence and how can we be balanced in both?
Yes. So, they are different, understanding the difference between them both is really important because it can help you to determine what you're struggling with and the right action steps that you need to take to correct that or to improve yourself. They're similar, but they're different. Self-esteem is it's how you value and love yourself. It's your self-love and your self-worth. This is what you think about yourself and your perception of how deserving you are to be happy, respected, successful. Confidence, on the other hand, is basically trusting in your abilities to do something. It's your faith in your abilities. It's knowing what you're
Mhm.
good at and knowing what you're not good at and being okay with that.
Mm.
So,
Here's the deal though. I feel
yeah.
like when teens are in school, and they go into middle school, let's say. Let's say in
Mhm.
elementary, it was kind of all, like, great and fun. People really accepted them, but now they're in high school, and they do some of the things they did in elementary and middle school. They get to middle school, and now someone has told them, "You suck," or "You're not that's your hairstyle's awful," or now all of a sudden, like, they'd never been
Right.
told that before, right? And so they're hearing someone else's opinion, and they're internalizing that and
Mhm.
really putting that on themselves harshly.
Right.
So I guess, like, how do we prepare our kids? They're gonna go into this scenario where they go into the middle school and the high school, and it's not gonna be like it was in elementary. How do we
Right.
prepare them for the things they might hear about their own self-worth and value and keeping themselves in a place where they still feel peace about who they are and feel that self-esteem and confidence? What do you think?
So, it is, um, you're referring to just like how sorry, can you rephrase your
Yes,
question?
I can. So when our children, they go to middle school or high
Mhm.
school and somebody says something rude to them that they'd not
Right.
heard about themselves before. So now they're taking that in and they're like,
Right.
"Oh, maybe I am fat. Oh,
Yes.
maybe I am not enough." And they never had
Yeah.
that thought before until somebody told them that. I
Right.
guess my question is, how do you think as parents we can best prepare our kids for going into scenarios where they might hear stuff like that?
Helping them to build their self-esteem and
Yes.
to be confident in who they are and to recognize and know that, yeah, other people are going to have their own opinions, but
Mhm.
their opinions are not what makes them who they are. And, just loving on them and teaching them that who they are, their uniqueness, that is, um,
The most important thing,
that's
right?
the most important thing. You
Yeah,
want them to know and understand that what others say about them and think about them is not what makes them who they are.
right. It's so important. I've been trying to learn more about my children and how each of them have these unique gifts and talents, trying to show them that this is who you were born as, and don't try to hide that by someone else trying to tell you that that's not cool to do or say or be.
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
you can be all of those things, and just know when people say those things to you, it's out of fear that something that they have is within them. It could be a trauma response from other people who say things like that, or just
Mhm.
some internal fears and, low self-esteem on their part to say
Mhm.
things like that to other kids, don't you think?
Exactly. Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
That is, a big reason for, bullies, why they reach out. I mean, they try to pick on other kids because they have low self-esteem themselves, and they're feeling bad about themselves, and this is their way of trying to make themselves feel better by making someone else feel worse.
Yes. That is, and, believe me, folks, people do this as adults.
Yeah,
And so we don't grow out of these, human behaviors that are not good qualities to have, to say things like that, but it does
right.
happen. So it's good to prepare our kids. I wanted to read just some of this affirmation stuff you had for these kids for
Mhm.
developing confidence and a secure attachment style. If you don't mind, I want to just share with the listeners here some of
Sure.
these beautiful words you have here.
Okay.
Okay,
Mhm.
here's some affirmation for your the son or daughter. I am beautiful or handsome the way I was created. Things like my appearance, the things I have, or where I come from don't define my worth. I am priceless and beautiful no matter what. I love that so much.
Mhm.
That is so good. Here's another one. I am loved unconditionally. Despite being flawed in some ways, I am still worthy of love. If we could just remind our kids to keep
Mhm.
saying these things to themselves,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
My loved ones trust me and believe in me. More importantly, I believe and trust in myself. I have the freedom to discover what matters to me and to go after my dreams.
Right.
How important to let these kids know that they can be themselves and go after what their heart is calling for, right? And not
Mhm.
have to be
Exactly.
a way we want them to be too.
Yes.
Okay. I am not afraid of rejection because I fully accept myself. They're going to get rejected. So this is important. This is an important
Mhm.
one here, just to accept yourself. I don't need to put on a facade or be a people pleaser just to be liked. I want to be true to myself and live on my own terms. I will give and accept love freely. I do not need to depend on others in order to be happy or make sure my needs are met. I will maintain a healthy balance in my expectations of myself and others. Oh, oh man, that last one's a good one. Let me read it again. I do not need to depend on others in order to be happy.
Mhm.
How many of us as adults put all of our power on someone else to
Mhm.
make us happy? So when
So
we can
true.
teach kids as young kids, your happiness does not depend on what someone else is doing or
Yeah.
saying.
Exactly.
It's
Yep.
so, so, so important. So my next question
Mhm.
is how can we as parents help our teenagers feel more confident? We've talked a little bit about that, but what are
Yeah.
some of your ideas?
So, teens they face a lot of unique challenges to their confidence. They have social media comparisons, academic pressures, and peer pressure. So, helping them to boost their confidence or build their confidence is so important. And ways that we can do that is by helping them to invest their time in improving on things that they're already good at, hobbies, sports, their schoolwork, wherever they excel already, you can help
Yes.
them by encouraging them to invest their time in making that even better. Or encouraging them to try new things and then practice those things to improve and build new skills.
Mhm.
Something that they can, be proud of themselves for accomplishing.
Yes. Yes. My
We can.
son
Mhm.
Sorry, my son
Oh,
was, in percussion, and he was doing that in school and really enjoyed it, but, we found that through percussion, he started learning how to read piano notes. He started to naturally get good at, like, reading notes, so I
mm,
put him in piano lessons. Now, I hated piano lessons as a kid, so
mhm.
I was grateful when my mom pulled me out, but when I put my son in, I could tell that it was really fulfilling a part of his life that it didn't for me as a kid. And
Right.
so I think what you're saying here is just like you said, help them see these areas they can excel at and be better at,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, Another important thing that will help boost their confidence, teaching them to learn from failure. See it as a stepping stone to their
Mm,
success. It's
so true.
failure is feedback, and we learn something every time we fail, and we
Mhm.
grow from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it teaches you what works and what doesn't work. You're learning a lesson every time you fail,
It's
and
scary to
everyone
fail.
fails.
Everyone does. And we all get that heart racing, like, "Oh my gosh, this is so scary. I'm gonna fail. I failed in the past," because we're looking to the past to determine what our
Yes.
future might be, right? And so
Yes.
just understanding that failure is part of the journey and it's okay to fail, and just take a deep breath. You're going to be fine. You're going to move through this.
Yep. That's
So,
exactly
so
right.
important. Okay, I love that. You know what else you had in
Yeah.
this book that was so beautiful?
What's that?
Um, Reparenting yourself is another way you can build your self-esteem.
Mhm.
Reparenting yourself. You say, if you grew up in an unstable home where you were neglected or felt unworthy of love, chances are your self esteem is low because of those childhood wounds. Isn't
Right.
that the truth?
Yeah.
The bright side is that it's never too late to reverse all the negative messages you grew up believing. Now that you are a young adult, you are no longer in the helpless position of a child who was unable to meet their own needs. I just thought that was so beautiful to
Mm,
teach kids that you're not two anymore and you can really meet your own needs. And if you had a bad childhood where you
mm.
weren't nurtured and loved, you've got you. You can
Yeah.
take care of you and you
Yeah.
can reparent you. We should say this to all the adults. It's time to reparent you, right? Because I've heard this in therapy, like healing that wounded child within you.
Yes.
And when you can heal that wounded child, you love yourself more. When you love yourself more, you take care of the people around you even better. Your
Mhm.
kids, you learn to love them and really accept who they are and who they are going to be in the world, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
what made you kind of put that little
Sure.
section? And I thought that was interesting there.
I mean, you made the point. It is there are so many people that are adults that have had childhoods where they weren't, maybe they had an absent parent, or maybe they had a parent that didn't know how to love them and show them
Mhm.
love.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you grow up, and as adults, you still have those wounds, and you crave that and miss that. And so it's so good to know that you can create that yourself by reparenting yourself and by loving yourself the way that you wish you were loved when you were growing up.
Oh, it is so, so true. I just think about that. There's a quote, something like, "It's easier to heal a hurt child than to try to repair an adult, like a wounded adult, right? Because that's so much harder to do. Everything the brain has been telling you since you were a child of, I'm not
Yeah.
good enough. I'll never be good enough. And then you turn into adulthood, and that's really hard to recreate those neural pathways to tell yourself, no, I am an amazing person.
Mhm.
So I think it's good as a child to teach your children these affirmations like we just read,
For sure.
and that they can take that into their adulthood and not have all these wounds that are so heavy on them, you know? It's so
Right.
important, so important. I just love that. Okay, let's talk about teens and possible some action steps these teens can take to boost their self-esteem today. Action steps.
Yes. Self-esteem is definitely vital for teens for their well-being and their success. So, helping them to boost their self-esteem is so important. Um, we can help them by getting them to reframe their negative beliefs about their worth,
Mhm.
by using the positive affirmations regularly,
Yes.
reinforcing a positive self-identity. And with those affirmations, they can even go as far as putting their name in the affirmation. Speak their name out loud. You
Right.
know,
That's
Robin,
powerful to say
you
your
are
name. Yeah.
beautiful.
Mhm.
Robin, you are confident.
Yeah.
Saying your name is so powerful to the brain, and
Mm.
hearing yourself saying that.
Yes.
Um, One another thing that we can do is to help them to not ruminate on their past mistakes or any unkind words that were said to them. Um,
Yes.
Forgiving themselves for those mistakes, and understanding it's okay to make a mistake, and that does not make you less worthy than, if you didn't make a mistake.
Right.
Gosh knows, how many of us just I mess up and make mistakes every day. So,
I do too. Yes, we
you
do.
know, um, don't make it about your mistakes. Make it about who you are.
Yes.
Um, don't allow others' opinions to determine how you view yourself. Everyone is going to have an opinion, and some of them are going to be positive and some of them are going to be negative.
Mhm.
and, learning to be okay with whatever someone else says about you and realizing that's not how I feel about myself, and I'm not going to let you change my view.
Yeah, yeah. This is a hard one in the
Yeah.
world because the thing is you talk about body bashing in here,
Mm,
right? And
yeah.
how a lot of us turn into adults who body bash ourselves too.
Oh, for
I
sure.
think it's because in our society, we've been taught that our bodies should look a certain way. And
Mhm.
when they're not that certain way, for years and years, we get these messages in our brain of, oh, you got a little fat around your midsection. Oh, look at your arms. They're not toned up. We get all of these things in our head and we start to really bash ourselves, don't we?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
The voices are loud.
Yeah.
What do we do as teenagers and as adults to get these critical, nasty voices out of our head?
Um, well, starting with mindfulness, for
Yeah.
one thing, just being aware of your thoughts and your actions, um, taking time to appreciate the present and letting go of the past, not focusing on past things that have gone wrong. Using those affirmations to remind yourself that you are not who you used to be.
Yes.
Helping your mind focus more on the present and less on the past is a way of rewiring your mind to
Mhm.
focus on positive instead of negative.
Yeah.
Actively working on overcoming weaknesses is another way to help with overcoming those voices. Reframing those weaknesses instead of calling them weaknesses, they're opportunities to grow. And then take steps to improve in that area, whether it be through making more friends, working on their grades, improving their health,
Yes. You
eating
start by
healthy,
you start there
exercise.
and it starts to help other areas, doesn't it,
Yeah,
when you improve your health?
absolutely. Absolutely.
You start sleeping more at night, getting your
Yeah.
rest in, drinking more water, just those 2 things alone start to propel momentum for wanting to eat healthier, then you feel better, you start looking better, you got more energy.
And
Mm,
definitely improves your mood.
it does, which
Um,
which brings in more
yeah,
friends, they're attracted to you now, right? Because
exactly.
now you become this person people wanna be around too, because 'cause you've taken care of you. That
Right.
goes a long way, talking about
Right.
nutrition and health with teenagers, because a lot of them don't eat well. They don't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
So that is a very,
Yeah.
very important topic.
And I would say, to replacing those negative thoughts that when they start creeping in and you're getting these negative thoughts in your head, to replace those with positive thoughts.
Mhm.
And it's not easy. It takes practice. It is
Oh my
it is a
gosh. Yes.
process. But you
Yes.
can use positive distractions um, to help you get started on that. When you start getting those negative thoughts in your head, pick up a good book or listen to your favorite music or turn on
Yes.
your favorite show, something that is going to take your mind off that negative thought that's just like you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough.
Yes.
You've got to just overcome
Yes.
that voice.
Yep. And I was taught once when those voices come, I try to think of what a stop sign looks like, and I go, "Stop."
Mhm.
In my head,
Yes.
I physically do that to interrupt quickly the negative thinking, and then I go outside, I go for a walk, I take some deep breaths, you know?
Yeah.
And I do like to listen to good meditative music and maybe just talk to myself in my head about, "Why am I feeling this way? What are you feeling?" I like to really go inside and go, "What is it you are feeling right now?" And get to the
Mhm.
bottom of why I feel that way and just understand why it's happening.
Yeah.
So important.
Journaling can definitely help with that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because you're writing down your thoughts, and that's something that you can always come back to later.
Yes.
You can refer back to it. But one of the biggest things that I would say, one of the best tips to help overcome those voices is using a gratitude journal.
Yes.
And I recommend starting with 50 reasons why, writing down 50 reasons why you're worthy, why you're capable and deserving of happiness and success. 50 reasons why you're awesome, and then
Mhm.
write 50 things that you're grateful for, and
Yeah.
make this your mantra, make this your positive affirmations, the
Yes.
things that you are grateful for and the why you are who you are and why you're awesome.
Yeah.
And
And if you don't know, ask somebody else. Because sometimes
yes,
we're so harsh on ourselves, like, we can't even think of 2 things when we don't like ourselves, right? But when
yes,
we ask somebody who truly loves us, they can tell us a million things.
absolutely, absolutely.
So
Anyone close to us, parents, friends,
mhm.
teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so good. You do have a part in here, I like. It's all about comparing yourself to others, and I think we do this so often as teenagers, but as
Mm.
adults too. We tend to get stuck in comparing everything we do to other people, don't you
Yes,
think?
absolutely.
You say you may feel that if only your body looked like this person's or that person's, then you'd finally be confident. But in
Mhm,
fact, comparing yourself to others only brings down your self esteem. Why do
mhm.
you think that happens?
Because you're you're actually you're projecting what you want yourself to be from I don't know what I'm trying to say. You're projecting what you see in them and you want
Yes.
for
You want
yourself
it for you. Yes.
instead of accepting yourself for who you are, the way that you are.
Mhm.
And you're always going to have people that you look up to, people that you admire, people that you feel are more beautiful than you. And you're always
Mhm.
going to have those thoughts of, gosh, I wish I had her hair, or I wish I could, you know, run like he does. You're always going to have those things. But the important part is to focus on what your strengths are, what is good in you, and to realize that you're beautiful just the way that you are. And God
Mhm.
made you the way that you are and
Yes.
accept that.
Amen. Yes. I think about these kids who wish so badly that they were in the popular group, or why can't
Mm,
I speak to people like they can, or why am I so introvert and they seem so extrovert? And so these kids get so comparative with all these other kids because they're not invited to the cool club, right?
mhm.
I just think it's a shame that they can't really see themselves as the cool club. Like
Yeah.
everybody should want to be my friend.
Right.
And
Right.
that's what we want them to get to, is have that confidence and that self-esteem, right? Where they feel like it's so inviting that they're willing to step out and start making friends. But a lot of people don't even dare make friends as teenagers because they feel
Yeah.
like that's not
So true.
cool to do. And people will think it's dumb if I just go up to them and say, "Hi, do you want to be my friend?" They
Right.
don't know exactly how to draw in people to them. So I think it's important that we get these teens to read this book. Don't you? So they can
Absolutely.
learn how
Yeah.
to make confidence their superpower. It's going to
Mhm.
help them in so many aspects of their life. Is there
Definitely.
anything else you would add to this conversation?
Well, I mean, I really appreciate you having me on, first of all.
Yes.
Um, and the opportunity to have this discussion is so important. I just want every teenager out there to know these things. If I could get the book in everyone's hands,
Mhm.
um, my heart goes out to those teens that are hurting and to the parents who are trying
Mhm.
to help them get through it. It is truly a struggle for some kids to overcome their insecurities and their low self-esteem.
Yeah.
So, I hope that it in some way helps them and gives them some hope.
And it will. I think people are gonna be inspired to pick this book up. If the listener could do just one thing, I would say, let's start working on your self-esteem and your self-confidence this year. 2024
Mhm.
is your year to make confidence your superpower, right? So with
Definitely.
that, Robin, thank you so much for coming
Oh,
on. I
thank
have to
you.
tell you, I really don't invite people on because people ask if they can come on, and I'm just like, I don't know. It's only kind of like a one man show. Sometimes I do interviews, sometimes I don't. But when I read this book, I was like, I gotta have her on because like everything you said in here was so perfect. It was so right on. So thank you for writing
Thank
this
you.
book. I can already tell it was totally inspired by God through you. You were the instrument to bringing this piece out into the world. So now we just need to get it in everyone's hands,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
for sure.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much for helping our teens and our parents today. You have a beautiful rest of your day.
You too. Thank you, Heather.